Imagine this. You graduate from one of the world's top business schools, land a high-paying job, and build a career most people would envy. But years later, despite your success, you feel unfulfilled, disconnected from your family, and lost in life. This isn't just a hypothetical scenario. It happened to many of Clayton Christensen's classmates at Harvard. Some ended up divorced, miserable, or even in jail, despite their professional achievements. So what went wrong? And more importantly, how can we avoid these pitfalls and lead lives filled with happiness, purpose, and integrity? That's exactly what How Will You Measure Your Life explores. Stay with me as we break down the powerful lessons from this life-changing book so you can make better choices in your career, relationships, and personal values. Clayton Christensen, a Harvard Business School professor, originally delivered these ideas in a speech to graduating students, which later became this book. Co-written with James Allworth and Dillon, How Will You Measure Your Life applies business theories to personal success and fulfillment. The book is divided into 3 main sections. 1. Finding happiness in your career. 2. Finding happiness in your relationships. 3. Staying out of jail, yes, really. Each section provides deep insights into what truly makes life meaningful. Let's dive in. Section 1. Finding happiness in your career. Most people believe that a great job with a high salary equals happiness. But Christensen argues that true career fulfillment comes from doing work that motivates you, not just pays well. Many individuals climb the corporate ladder only to realize too late that they've been chasing the wrong goals. They focus on external rewards like money, prestige, and job titles, only to feel empty once they achieve them. Lesson 1. What makes us tick? There's a huge difference between hygiene factors, things that prevent dissatisfaction, and motivators, things that bring true satisfaction. Hygiene factors, salary, job security, perks, company policies, things that if missing cause dissatisfaction but don't necessarily lead to happiness if improved. Motivators, challenging work, recognition, responsibility, personal growth, things that make you excited to go to work every day. The problem is that many professionals chase hygiene factors, believing that a high salary and stable job will bring long-term fulfillment. However, Christensen warns that while hygiene factors prevent dissatisfaction, they don't create deep, lasting happiness. To illustrate, he shares an eye-opening insight about his Harvard classmates. Many of them landed prestigious jobs, earning more money than they ever imagined. Yet, when Christensen met them years later, he found that many were deeply unhappy. Some were burned out, feeling stuck in jobs they didn't love, and others had neglected their families in pursuit of career success, only to regret it later. The key takeaway? If you want a fulfilling career, you must prioritize work that engages and excites you, not just work that pays well. True career happiness comes from feeling that your contributions matter, that you are learning and growing, and that your work aligns with your values. Lesson 2. Strategy versus execution. Where are you really investing your time? Most people have clear intentions about what they want in life. A great career, a happy family, meaningful relationships. But here's the problem. Intentions don't determine outcomes. Your real strategy is not what you say it is. It's how you actually allocate your time and resources. Think of a company. A CEO might claim that customer service is their top priority, but if all the budget and energy go toward marketing and cost-cutting instead, then their real strategy is something else entirely. The same principle applies to life. You may say that your family is your highest priority, but if you consistently work 80-hour weeks, miss important events, and are always too busy, then your real strategy is focused on work, not family. Christensen encourages us to ask, where am I actually investing my time and energy? If you want a fulfilling career, are you actively seeking meaningful work, or are you defaulting to what's easiest or most lucrative? If you want to be present for your family, are you setting clear boundaries at work, or do you keep pushing personal time aside? The danger is that most people don't recognize these misalignments until it's too late. They assume they'll have time later to fix things, but later rarely comes. The people who are happiest in their careers and personal lives are those who consciously align their daily actions with their deepest priorities. Lesson 3. The balance of calculation and serendipity. Another major mistake people make is overplanning their careers. Christensen explains that while having a deliberate plan is important, we also need to remain open to emergent opportunities, unexpected chances that might lead to something even better than what we originally envisioned. He illustrates this with a fascinating story about Intel's shift from memory chips to microprocessors. Initially, Intel was fully committed to memory chips, but competition from Japan forced them to reconsider. After analyzing market trends and experimenting with new ideas, they realized that microprocessors had far greater potential. Had they stubbornly stuck to their original strategy, they might have failed. The same concept applies to individual careers. Many people enter a profession with a rigid 5 or 10-year plan, only to ignore new opportunities that could lead to even greater success and fulfillment. The best approach? Have a vision for where you want to go, but remain adaptable. Experiment and learn from different experiences. Recognize when an unexpected path might be better than your original plan. Christensen also shares a personal story about how he found his true calling. He never initially planned to become a professor. His early career was in business consulting and startups. But over time, he discovered that teaching and mentoring students brought him immense joy. Had he rigidly followed his original career plan, he might never have found the work that truly fulfilled him. The key lesson? Leave room for serendipity. Some of the best career opportunities will arise unexpectedly. If you're too focused on sticking to a rigid plan, you might miss them entirely. Section 2. Finding happiness in your relationships. Success in your career is meaningless if your relationships fall apart. Many highly accomplished people look back on their lives and regret not investing enough time in their families and loved ones. Christensen argues that relationships, whether with family, friends, or colleagues, require the same strategic investment as a business does. Just as businesses allocate resources carefully to grow and thrive, we must do the same with our personal connections. Lesson 4. The ticking clock. When to invest in relationships. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that they will have time later to focus on relationships. Many professionals pour all their energy into their careers, assuming they can build meaningful relationships with their spouse, children, and friends once they've reached a certain level of success. The problem? Later often never comes. Time is like capital in a business. If you don't invest in relationships consistently, you can't expect them to grow. Just like a neglected business loses customers, a neglected relationship weakens over time. Love, trust, and connection require regular attention. Many people realize too late that they spent years prioritizing work over family, only to find their relationships distant and fragile. Christensen tells a heartbreaking story of a classmate who was once full of dreams and ambition. He built a successful career, but in the process, he neglected his marriage and his relationship with his children. By the time he realized his mistake, his wife had left him and his kids had grown up without him. No amount of career success can replace lost time with the people who matter most. Ask yourself, am I truly prioritizing my relationships? Or am I assuming they'll always be there no matter how little time I invest in them? Lesson 5. What job did you hire that milkshake for? One of the book's most fascinating stories is about Milkshake. Christensen shares a study where a fast food company wanted to improve its milkshake sales. They assumed that improving the taste would increase demand, but when they studied customers, they discovered something surprising. People weren't buying milkshakes for their flavor. They were buying them because they were easy to drink while commuting, kept them full, and gave them something to do on a long drive. The milkshake was solving an emotional and functional need. So, how does this relate to relationships? Christensen argues that just as companies need to understand the job their product is being hired for, we need to understand the job that people in our lives expect us to fulfill. Your spouse may not just need you to be a provider. They might need a supportive partner, a source of encouragement, or simply someone who listens. Your children don't just need you to pay for their education. They need your presence, your guidance, and your emotional support. Your friends don't just need an occasional message. They need real engagement and effort to sustain deep connections. The mistake most people make is assuming they know what their loved ones need without actually asking or observing. Just as the company misunderstood why people bought milkshakes, many of us misunderstand what our family and friends truly need from us. The key takeaway: ask yourself, what job does my spouse, child, or friend hire me for? Once you understand that, you can build stronger, more meaningful relationships by fulfilling those needs. Lesson 6. Raising kids using the Theseus ship theory. Parenting is one of the most important and challenging relationships in life. Christensen introduces a powerful metaphor to explain how we shape our children's character over time. Imagine you have an old wooden ship, and over the years, you replace each plank one by one until every part of the ship is new. Is it still the same ship? Similarly, raising children is about making small, consistent changes that gradually shape who they become. Every conversation, every lesson, every moment of attention contributes to their development. Just as you can't build a strong business overnight, you can't build a strong child with occasional grand gestures. It's the small, everyday moments that matter most. One of the biggest parenting mistakes is believing that providing opportunities is the same as providing guidance. Many parents believe that if they give their children the best education, the best extracurricular activities, and the best tutors, they will succeed. But what truly matters is the values and decision-making skills children develop at home. Christensen warns against outsourcing parenting to schools, coaches, or technology. Many busy professionals provide everything for their kids, except their own presence. The result? Kids grow up without strong emotional connections with their parents, making them more vulnerable to external influences. So what's the lesson? Your influence on your child's character comes from daily, consistent interactions. Lecturing doesn't work. Leading by example does. Don't measure your success as a parent by your child's achievements, but by their values, resilience, and integrity. The power of small, consistent investments. Christensen's core message in this section is that relationships require continuous investment. You can't expect deep, meaningful connections with your spouse, children, or friends if you only pay attention to them when it's convenient. Think of relationships like a savings account. If you deposit small amounts consistently, over time, the investment grows into something valuable. If you ignore the account for years and then try to fix it all at once, it's usually too late. Section 3. Staying out of jail. Integrity and values. It may seem shocking that a book about happiness and success includes a section on staying out of jail. But Christensen isn't just talking about literal prison. He's talking about how people, especially those in high-stakes careers, slowly compromise their values over time, leading to disastrous consequences. Many of Christensen's most brilliant classmates, people who once had strong moral compasses, made small, seemingly harmless compromises early in their careers. Over time, these small compromises snowballed into major ethical failures, costing them their reputations, families, and, in some cases, their freedom. So, how do smart, well-intentioned people end up in such situations? And more importantly, how can we avoid the same fate? Lesson 7. Just this once. The slippery slope of compromise. One of the most powerful insights from this book is that nobody wakes up one day and decides to ruin their life. It happens through a series of small, rationalized decisions. It starts with just this once thinking, taking a shortcut, making a small exception, or bending the rules slightly because it's not a big deal. Over time, these small exceptions create a pattern, and soon, larger compromises seem just as justifiable. Before they know it, people find themselves in situations they never imagined, cheating on their taxes, covering up mistakes at work, or even engaging in fraud. Real-life example. Christensen shares the story of his Harvard classmate, Jeffrey Skilling, who became the CEO of Enron. In business school, Skilling was a smart, hardworking, and ethical person. Yet, he later became one of the key figures in the biggest corporate fraud scandal in U.S. history and was sentenced to 24 years in prison. How did this happen? One small compromise at a time. Christensen argues that if you ever catch yourself saying, just this once, it's a red flag. Once you break a personal rule, even for what seems like a minor reason, it becomes easier to justify breaking it again. The key lesson? If you're going to stand for something, stand for it 100% of the time. If honesty is a core value, don't lie, ever. If you believe in fairness, don't make exceptions that benefit you unfairly. If you value integrity, don't compromise it for short-term gain. By committing to absolute integrity, you eliminate the risk of slowly slipping into unethical territory. Once you compromise once, it's hard to stop. Lesson 8. The power of having a clear moral compass. Most people believe they'll make the right decision when faced with a big moral dilemma. The problem is that moral failures don't usually happen in one big moment. They happen gradually. To avoid this, you must define your values before you face tough choices. Why is this important? Because if you wait until you're in a high-pressure situation to decide what's right, you're more likely to justify something you wouldn't normally accept. Example: if a company asks you to manipulate financial reports to make earnings look better, and you haven't already decided that honesty is non-negotiable, the pressure to comply might make you justify it as a one-time thing. Christensen encourages everyone to establish a personal code of ethics, a set of clear, non-negotiable values that guide all decisions. These should be deeply rooted and not open to compromise. How to set your moral compass. 1. Write down your core values. What are the principles you refuse to break, no matter the circumstances? 2. Decide in advance how you will handle ethical dilemmas. Will you speak up if you see something unethical at work? Will you ever lie to protect yourself? 3. Surround yourself with people who hold you accountable. If your friends and colleagues cut ethical corners, you're more likely to do the same. Choose people who reinforce your values. The hidden cost of compromise. Many people compromise their integrity in pursuit of career success, believing that cutting small ethical corners will help them get ahead. However, Christensen warns that the true cost of these compromises is far greater than people realize. Loss of self-respect. Every time you compromise your values, you chip away at your self-worth. Damaged relationships. People lose trust in you when they see you bend the rules. Long-term consequences. Ethical shortcuts may bring temporary gains, but they almost always lead to problems down the road. Christensen reminds us that true success isn't about wealth or power. It's about living in a way that aligns with your values. Final thoughts. How will you measure your life? At the end of your life, success won't be measured by your job title, salary, or wealth. Instead, it will be measured by the impact you made in the lives of others, the strength of your relationships, whether you stayed true to your values. So, ask yourself, how will you measure your life? Don't wait for regrets to teach you these lessons. Apply them now. If you found this summary valuable, hit the like button and subscribe for more insightful book breakdowns. What's your biggest takeaway from How Will You Measure Your Life? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.